What connects a brazen mansion break-in, a desperate actor's dark scheme, and a bloody sidewalk in Toronto? Well, as we zoom in on these three crazy mysteries, I want you to ask yourself something. How fast can your life literally change? Like, is it 1 second? One daring decision? Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into three high-stakes, life-or-death situations that totally defy logic, proving once and for all that reality is way, way stranger than fiction. So what's the common thread here? It's all about the unbelievable power of unexpected moments. We're going to look at how a single, seemingly tiny choice, or just a totally freak accident, can completely rewrite history. We're tracking the chaotic chain reactions that changed absolutely everything for the folks involved. Let's get right into it. Okay, picture this. It's a quiet afternoon in the early 2000s. You've got this incredibly ambitious but completely unknown young artist named Rose, and she's sitting in her car outside a massive gated mansion up in the Hollywood Hills. She hasn't caught her big break yet, and she's sweating bullets. Why? Because what she's about to do is highly, highly illegal. Her master plan? Sneak onto the property of one of the most famous musicians on Earth just to hand-deliver her demo CD. She knows the guy could easily have her thrown in jail, but to her, risking her criminal record is totally worth a shot at a career. Just watch how this tense little infiltration plays out. Minute 1, she walks up to this imposing front gate. No security guards anywhere, just a gardener. So, using purely her natural charm, Rose pulls out her very last $5 bill, hands it over, and literally begs him to let her drop something off. And crazy enough, he smiles and just lets her through. Now it's minute 3. She's walking up this huge driveway completely surrounded by security cameras, just bracing herself to get tackled. But she makes it to the gorgeous front door. She knocks, nothing. She jiggles the handle, and wouldn't you know it, the front door to this mega mansion is wide open, unlocked. By minute 5, she is inside, tiptoeing past billiard halls and wine cellars until she hops into an elevator to check out the next floor. And that is when the sheer, unadulterated panic finally hits her. As this fancy elevator starts moving, Rose realizes it is incredibly loud. She pulls out her clunky cell phone, calls her mom in an absolute state of terror, and whispers, "You know what? Almost certainly I'm about to get arrested here." Her mom is on the other end, freaking out, asking what on earth she's doing, but before Rose can even get a word out, the elevator jerks to a stop. The doors slide open. Okay, this is the make or break moment. Rose was fully expecting to step out into a wall of giant, burly security guards with handcuffs ready to drag her off to the police station. But the reality? Well, she slowly lowers her phone. Her mom is still screaming through the tiny speaker, by the way, because sitting right there in front of her is the legendary owner of the house. He's just sitting there, strumming a guitar, completely minding his own business. They just lock eyes in this totally stunned, awkward silence, neither of them having any clue how to process what's actually happening. Because the guy sitting in that room, it was Prince, literally one of the most famous human beings walking the earth at that time. Somehow, Rose swallows her paralyzing starstruck fear, steps forward, tosses her demo CD onto a table, turns right back around, and practically sprints to the elevator. Prince's security detail did finally catch her at the front door, but miraculously, Prince decided to just let it go. No police. He just wanted her off the lawn. Now, he never actually listened to her CD, and he definitely didn't help her career. But man, her story doesn't stop there. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. Rose is actually her middle name. You definitely know her by her first name, which doubles as her stage name, Keisha. Yeah, that Keisha. Without a single ounce of help from Prince, Keisha went on to completely pave her own way, eventually going multi-platinum and selling over 100 million records worldwide as an absolute independent force. Talk about a wild start to an iconic career, right? All right, let's switch gears to our second story and see how this theme plays out differently. Fast forward to 2008, Connecticut. A 50-year-old actor named Carlo is sitting at his kitchen table, and he is just drowning, literally buried under a mountain of complex bankruptcy paperwork. Now, Carlo is a highly respected guy. He's done Broadway, he's been in movies, he's got a stellar reputation. But despite all that critical acclaim, he just hasn't been able to land consistent, high-paying gigs. Carlo was trapped in this agonizing double life. To the public, to his peers, he had to keep up this shiny facade of the successful, acclaimed actor because, in showbiz, if you show even a hint of desperation, nobody hires you. But his private reality behind closed doors, it was absolute financial hell. He had a wife and 4 kids relying on him, he was drowning in debt, and he felt like a total fraud the second he walked out of his house. The pressure got so incredibly heavy that Carlo's mind drifted to a terrifyingly dark place. He actually started researching if he could trigger a massive life insurance payout for his family if he took his own life. He casually asked his wife about their policies, which turns out were pretty generous. But as he dug into the fine print, he realized that a direct suicide would completely void the payout. He even thought about taking up wildly dangerous hobbies, or, if you can believe it, hiring a hitman to stage his own murder. But he knew insurance investigators would see right through it. He was backed into a corner with 0 options. So with absolutely no way out, Carlo just kept doing the only thing he knew, auditioning. And then, out of nowhere, he gets this totally serendipitous call from his agent. It's for a tiny TV role. The pay was lousy, but it was a solid credit. But when Carlo actually reads the script, his jaw drops. The character description says he is someone who, quote, hides in plain sight. A powerful guy who actively pretends to be an absolute nobody to the rest of the world. Carlo realizes, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm hiding my massive financial despair and my darkest thoughts behind the friendly smile of a working dad. He knew in his bones exactly how to play this guy. Because Carlo connected so deeply, so authentically with this character, he delivered a world-class masterclass of a performance. The show's creators were so completely blown away that they scrapped their plans and rewrote the script to make his role way, way bigger. And as his character grew, the show itself absolutely exploded into a global phenomenon. That one single role pulled his family completely out of financial ruin, made him millions and millions of dollars, and snagged him multiple Emmy nominations. Let's zoom out and reveal who Carlo really is. His full name is Giancarlo Esposito, and that tiny, low-paying gig he took out of sheer desperation, that was for the iconic, terrifying chicken shop kingpin, Gus Fring, on the absolute juggernaut hit, Breaking Bad. He literally channeled his own real-life darkest moments to create one of the best villains in TV history. Crazy, right? Okay, let's dive into our third and final story. The date is Thursday, June 6th, 2013, and we are up in Toronto, Canada. We're tagging along with a 79-year-old retired tourist named Marilyn Wolpole and her husband, Jim. They're visiting from Ohio. They've just wrapped up a lovely dinner date at an Irish pub called PJ O'Brien's, and they're just happily strolling back to their hotel, chatting about their awesome vacation. But guys, tragedy can strike in the blink of an eye. At 8 p.m., they're walking under what looks like completely normal construction scaffolding. Literally 1 minute later, Jim trips. But it's not just a stumble. He falls and lands directly onto a jagged, exposed piece of metal tubing sticking out of the ground. The impact is horrific. That metal tube slices Jim's neck wide open, and it misses his main artery by 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch! Instantly, there was blood everywhere on the sidewalk, and Marilyn just freezes. She is locked in absolute, paralyzed horror, just screaming for help. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, 2 total strangers sprint into the scaffolding tunnel. One guy instantly whips out his phone and calls 911. The second stranger drops right down onto the bloody concrete and takes complete control of the situation. His response is basically flawless. Step 1, he rips off his own scarf. Step 2, he gently cradles Jim's bleeding head. Step 3, he wraps the scarf tight around Jim's neck and applies intense, pinpoint pressure to the wound to stop the massive bleeding. Marilyn is naturally completely hysterical at this point, but this stranger looks her dead in the eye and speaks with this incredible, rock-solid authority. He says, "My name's John. Everything is fine. Your husband's going to be okay now. Go." It was like flipping a switch. Marilyn instantly felt a wave of relief. She hopped into the ambulance, 100% convinced that a highly trained, off-duty trauma doctor had just miraculously saved her husband's life. The next day at the hospital, the doctors confirmed her worst fears. If Jim's cut had been just a tiny bit deeper, he would have bled out in minutes. They also confirmed that John's lightning-fast pressure on the wound absolutely, without a doubt, saved Jim's life. Jim needed 10 stitches, but hey, he was alive. So, an overjoyed Marilyn makes it her absolute mission to track down these 2 heroes. She discovers the guy who called 911 was actually the owner of the pub they had just eaten at. But when she asks him for Dr. John's contact info to send a thank you note, the pub owner starts laughing. He tells her, John isn't a doctor at all. The guy has literally 0 medical training. Zooming out for the final time, we find out exactly who this stranger was. It was the multi-award-winning Hollywood actor, John Malkovich. Yeah, Malkovich was literally just taking a walk, but he happens to possess this natural, undeniable X-factor of command. It's the exact same effortless authority he uses to play these powerful, imposing leaders on screen. So when he saw that chaotic, bloody scene, he just naturally stepped into the fray, used that booming presence to take total charge, calmed Marilyn right down, and ended up saving Jim's life, armed with nothing but a scarf and pure, improvised confidence. So what do we make of all this? What these 3 incredibly intense stories really show us is that razor-thin line between a totally ordinary Tuesday and a life-altering event. Whether it's a young girl making a desperate gamble at a front gate, an actor getting a lucky phone call at absolute rock bottom, or a freak accident under a scaffold that triggers a famous stranger's hidden hero instincts, they all prove one thing. Our life's trajectory, it is never, ever set in stone. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Every single time you walk out your front door, every time you answer a random phone call, or every time you take a blind leap of faith, what completely unexpected moment is waiting just around your corner?
Thank you so much for exploring these unbelievable true stories with me today. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will catch you in the next one.